Jerry Jones is a happy man today. Oh, yes, he is. Give me some Johnny Walker Blue and take me for a ride on the bus. Shoes are optional today for Jerry Jones because he's gotten his deal done. Ezekiel Elliott, 6-year, $90 million extension, signed for 8 seasons. They've got 4 of their 5 offensive linemen locked up through 2023. They've got Jalen Smith under contract. DeMarcus Lawrence is under contract. Everybody except Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper, they're going to have to deal with that little predicament next. Right. But when you look at it, right, everyone is there now. Jalen Smith was the first big domino to fall, but now that we have the offensive guys in place, you've got Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper. Is this the best Cowboys team that we've seen since the days of Aikman and Irvin and Emmett?
I mean, it's really close. Now, I think some of those, like, 2007 teams were pretty damn good, too, you know, with Terrell Owens and Tony Romo, where I would say that's, like, neck and neck to me.
But what did they ever do?
Yeah, I know. They didn't do anything. You're right. I just say that, but they were still number 1 seed in the playoffs. I didn't believe one year when they lost to the Giants.
The trip to Mexico.
Right, that whole thing. So, I mean, those were talented teams, certainly. I think this team, when I look at it as a whole, I probably go, it's a little more talented than even those teams. I think it is the best team since the early 90s, yes. I mean, what's there really to us question about the roster, right? I only have one question about the football team in general, and you tell me if you agree with me or not. It's really one phase, the passing offense. It's the only thing I question. Right? I mean, last year they were 23rd passing offense in football. And I know they're a run-first football team, but I just worry about that aspect of their game. If Zeke's getting stuffed by a good defense in a certain week against some quality playoff type of teams, can they overcome that consistently and go, oh, no, our passing game's pretty elite. We can rely on that too.
They've had such a basic matchup-driven offense
yes, they have.
Where everybody's in the same place all the time. There's no creativity.
Nope.
There's no pre-snap motion. There's no funky formations. It's all about having the bigger, stronger, faster guys and letting them go be bigger, stronger, and faster. And this year is the first conscious transition away from that. We'll see how it goes. As you point out all the time, Kellen Moore, the new offensive coordinator, who looks like he's younger than my 15-year-old nephew, frankly. But he is a guy who learned offense from the guy they fired.
Yes.
Scott Linehan.
Right. I got to know what the other area of inventory he has in his offense. I mean, really, other than, let's see, he was at Boise State, okay. Then he comes to Detroit. He gets a year with Joe Lombardi. Other than that, that's the only other NFL thoughts or schematics he's had put in his brain other than Scott Linehan. So I got to see what they're going to do, what he's going to do, how he's going to kind of reinvent this offense with all the issues you talked about. It is very stagnant. It's the same formations over and over and over. And as we saw in the playoff game, they couldn't run the ball. What was it? The passing offense wasn't pretty. It was Dak Prescott making plays. He just had to make plays and be like, oh, I got to scramble and make throws on the run. And when, and then on defense, they're a little the same way. They're kind of like, hey, this is what we do. Deal with it. We're bigger and faster, like you're saying. We're going to beat you up. Oh, well, the Rams and Sean McVay cracked the code, and they found out a few things you were doing on your defensive front where you got out-schemed, and it didn't matter if you were the bigger, faster team. It didn't matter. So those are just the little issues I worry about with the Dallas Cowboys, just getting them over the hump as far as if they want to get out of the divisional round and get to a championship game or a Super Bowl.
And you know what? No excuses for Jason Garrett now, who's in the last year of his contract as the head coach of the team. If it doesn't work out, no buyout, no problem.
Right.
See you later, and you bring someone in, and you should be able to attract anyone you want with that roster, especially if and when they get Dak Prescott under contract, assuming that the next coach would say Dak Prescott is my guy, and I think that any coach should say Dak Prescott's my guy. I can find a way to make it work with him. I think the guy is far better than he gets credit for, and that puts more pressure on Jason Garrett. Yes. It's been a rocky ride for him in Dallas. He has survived in large part because he allows Jerry Jones to be the one who sucks all the oxygen out of the room.
Sure.
He's not that typical, I'm the coach, go sit down and shut up like Parcells was, like Jimmy Johnson was.
Not.
So he lets Jerry be Jerry, and he doesn't need to have that notoriety. But at the same time, he hasn't gotten the results that you would look to and say this guy is one of the better coaches in the NFL. He's squarely middle of the pack at best.
It's been up and down. I mean, they've traditionally, like you've talked about many times, have been go to the playoffs, fall off, go to the playoffs, fall off. Now I will say I think this is a year. I mean, I'm picking them to go to the playoffs. I'll let that out of the bag right now, even though we know we're going to do that a little later on in the show. But I do think this is the most complete roster he's had. and there's, no Tony Romo back injury to worry about, where then all of a sudden Kellerman Moore has to play some quarterback and do things like that. I don't see a weakness to their roster. I think they are a very good football team. I'm glad Jerry Jones got Ezekiel Elliott in there, because you don't want an early season cheap loss hanging over your head because Zeke wasn't there and the passing game couldn't pick up the slack for the lack of a running game and all of that. But they've done a good job of orchestrating their roster. Man, they got waves of defensive linemen. You mentioned the offensive linemen are signed up for years and years. Ezekiel Elliott's there for years and years now. And they got a good base to be very competitive in the NFC for a while.
Yeah, they did that La'el Collins deal yesterday, and it's a heck of a team-friendly deal. It makes it easier to keep some of these other guys around. All right.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.